I'm talking to James Johnston, Golden Guitar winner, multiple Golden Guitar nominee, chart topper, extremely professional, amazing live performer. James Johnston, how are you?
Hell of an intro every time. I appreciate it. I'm very good. Thanks, Amy.
I'm talking to you about your brand new single, Hell Boy, which is like all of your singles. It's highly entertaining. As I've said, you're an really entertaining live performer. So I always find that your recordings match the live experience, but it's also really heartfelt and moving. And I think that's a knack that you have as a songwriter and as an artist is bringing those things together. And you said that this is a song about the power of love, the importance of hard work, and the thrill of living life to its fullest. Have you always been someone who lives life to the fullest? Now, I think this is a leading question because I'm thinking the answer is yes, but please tell.
I'd like to say yes. I always quote something. I always say, at the end of it, I just want to have a good story to tell, and that's like my motto for life. I just want to have, when it's all said and done, I just want to have a good story to tell. So I would say yes.
And there's a line in it. Well, it's the first line, you were born with a fire. Now it's you as the narrator telling the story. You have a couple of young sons, so I imagine you're talking to them, but no doubt you needed to have that fire in you in order to pursue a creative life. When did you first feel that fire?
The thing, music has been something from a very, very young age. Since about 4 years old, music has been a part of my story. The song kind of it tells stories somewhat of like my old man and him passing down advice to me, and then kind of me continuing that advice down to my kids. And it really said, you were born with a fire. From the day you were born with a fire, and kind of you raised some hell. But if you're going to go out in the world, give it everything you got. And one thing that I'm very lucky is my dad isn't musical. My family wasn't musical. That having a life and a career in music was not something that they probably would have ever imagined for their children. They sold tractors for a living. But I think music, and dad always said to me, he said, if you're going to go out there, just give it everything you got. If you're going to go out there, work hard. If a tradie's getting up at 5 o'clock, get up at 5 o'clock and start your day. Whatever it is, that idea. It's don't just wait for something to come to you. And for me, this song kind of captures that. It's me passing on that same advice now to my boys, saying if you can do whatever you want in this world, but just go and give it everything you got. That sentiment. If you're going to run with everything you have.
Suppose now that you're a parent, though, you might be able to tell. In fact, I'm sure you can tell because you're a thinking person that the fire can be a burden as well. You're looking at a child who has that in them, and it can end up where you've ended up, which is pursuing this creative career, and you're making the most of it. But it can also burn people out almost literally. So, how do you balance that now that you're a parent? Do you look at your own parents and think, "Oh, there could have been a moment there where they thought, what's going to become of me? Am I going to burn myself out?"
They think that every single day, and they worry about me still to this day. They're like, "Why are you doing these things?" They're like, "Don't worry, yeah, I'm gonna run to Tamworth." It's like, James, you've never run before. You're not like a runner. This is not a thing that you can do. I'm like, it's fine. I've got this. I'm gonna make it happen. Don't worry about me. And they're like, "Have you worried about the logistics and everything?" I'm like, "No, don't need to worry about it. I'm just gonna start running." So that is, I don't think that's something that will ever stop. At least I know my experience with my parents, and I'm sure it's the same thing with my kids. I'll probably until the day I die, I'll be worried about it.
Now, you have introduced the topic of what you are doing leading into your show at the Tamworth Country Music Festival, and that is you are going to run/walk, if necessary, from Armidale to Tamworth. You are raising money for Ronald McDonald House, Tamworth. For those who aren't aware what happens at Ronald McDonald House, why did you choose to support them?
I think Ronald McDonald House, and come back to Hellboy and the sentiment of this song. It's about going out there and fighting and giving everything you've got. And I think the greatest fighters in the world are some of these young kids that are battling these, illnesses that they're going through, and they're in some of the greatest fights. And I think Ronald McDonald House, and I've been lucky through my career. I've got to be involved with Ronald McDonald House and see the great work that they do for the families, and especially a lot of regional families. There's that aren't living there right next to where they get treatment. They need to come in from outside of places. Um, so I think they're doing incredible work, and I think the sentiment of this song and the message that I'm trying to instill in my boys. I think these kids represent that in the greatest way possible. They're out there fighting for their life. They don't back down. They're resilient. Their families are all sticking together. They're pushing through. They're in the fight together. So I just thought, I've got to be a part of that, and I also, back onto the song, it's about now for me showing my boys, if you want to go out and do something, go and do it. And, example, I'm not a runner, I'm not that fit, but just like, but if you put your mind to something, you can make it happen. And hopefully they get to watch that now and you can do some good through that action. And I'm lucky, I've got a public profile, I've got a community around me, and I know that I can make a bit of a bigger splash sometimes if I bring people together and help, things like raising money and all that sort of stuff. And if I can leverage what I do and what I love, which is at the core of its music, if I can leverage that and do some good, then I think that's worthwhile doing.
Now, you say you're not a runner. However, I remember reading years ago that it takes more muscles to sing than to run. So maybe you're already match fit.
I would like to think that's true, but I got to be honest. After like my first run, I'm like, that is not true. That's a whole. It might use more muscles. I don't doubt that, but not the muscles that you need for running. I'll tell you that much.
Well, look, but muscles have been used. This is the point of exercising and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to throw you a light here, Jack. So
No, thank you.
Ronald McDonald House is one of those places that you hope you never need, but you're really glad when it's there. And I remember the very first Ronald McDonald House, which was at Camperdown in Sydney, near the Royal Alexandra Hospital for Children, which no longer exists. And it was just one little building, and it's been going for so many years, but it's an amazing course. So hopefully people will get behind that. But just back to the theme of the fire, I'm wondering for you as a songwriter now, you have dozens of songs behind you, if not hundreds, and you waited a long time to record your first song, and you had an album that had a big brace of songs on it. What lights the fire in you as a songwriter?
It's interesting. The inspiration can come from all different places. Sometimes it's the simplest thing. Like it's not always grand. I think some people have this idea you got to like, for instance, doing this run will be inspiration, maybe, but sometimes it's the look that you see. I see my kid and the way that he looks at me. It's like there's a whole story in that. It can come from anywhere, and it often the less grand things are often there's a beauty in the simplicity. So I think inspiration is everywhere, and it kind of just hits you at moments. I always believe the sentiment of like you need to be creating and actively working on the art to be inspired. I don't believe the idea that you just have to wait for inspiration to hit to write a song.
Hmm.
But with that being said, when there is definitely moments when it's gifted to you, that there's that inspiration does hit and that song just comes and it feels like it's a gift. And they're the moments I wait for. No, they're the moments that I love, but I don't wait for is the truth of it.
And it's also the case that having done all that work that's the reason why you can take advantage of that inspiration when it strikes, because you have the tools to do it. You know what to do with that inspiration, as opposed to just thinking, "Oh, that's a nice idea," and then watching it float by.
I think, yeah, we've spoken about this before, but the analogy of the toolbox, the more you write, the more you have in your toolkit. So when that inspiration hits, you've got all the right tools to like capture it.
Yeah. So now your songs have taken you to Golden Guitar Awards and nominations, and this year you will be hosting the Golden Guitar Awards with Max Jackson, who's a former Toyota Star Maker winner. How much rehearsal will you have, given that you are running to Tamworth from Armidale and you also have your own show to prepare for?
Not much is the truth. So I was rehearsing at about, like 9 o'clock last night. I was in the studio with the band rehearsing for the show. We're doing something different. The show's called The Music That Made Me. And so not only am I kind of doing the run and hosting awards, but I'm not only doing it my own show, but doing a new version of my own show. I'm obviously playing all the songs my songs and songs that people will be wanting to be hearing. But there's also a lot of songs that have inspired me throughout my career. It's from Johnny Cash to Lee Kernigan to Garth Brooks to, all sorts of music that has inspired me. And we're kind of mashing those into my songs and kind of taking people on this big, long journey. So I'm really excited about that. It's something that I haven't done for a very long time is play a lot of these songs. It kind of goes back to some of my pub days and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's going to show a different side to what I do and where my music comes from.
And you're doing my work for me here, James, because I was going to ask you what audiences can expect at your show. But instead, I'm going to ask you about the venue, Tamworth Town Hall. I don't know if you've put a show on there before, so I'm wondering why you chose it. Obviously, it's an historic venue, but a bit different for you, I would think.
Somewhat. Keith Urban put a show on there, and ever since he did a show, I was like, I want to do a show there. And Keith also did a show at Lefties, which I did a show there a couple months ago, and it was one of my favorite shows that I've done probably ever. There's this sense of like this small room, this like it was a bit rock and roll. It was kind of not all plans, and I love playing the big shows, the big festivals, and everything. But there's something about cramming a bunch of people into the room and just playing country music and going to town, and that's what I'm excited. I think there's going to be an energy in that room that's going to be electric.
One of the things I love about going to shows at the town hall is that because everyone has to kind of mass outside on the street to get in, I think the excitement starts to build then and there. Not that you'll necessarily feel that, but you'll probably hear it from backstage.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm just excited. I love gigs like this. There's like small, those theaters. But and we're not putting seating there. It's standing main. It's seating up on the top, but it's standing. So we're doing something differently. It's not this sit down, nice, intimate thing. We're gonna pack the place and make it a rock and roll gig. It's gonna be a different feeling for the town hall than it normally gets.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I were going, but I'm not going to be in Tamworth this year, sadly. Now, the next night, so that's on the Friday night, the 24th. On the 25th, you will be hosting the Golden Guitar Awards with Max Jackson. Do you and Max need to practice your banter? Is that how it works for a hosting gig?
A little bit. We don't get a whole lot of rehearsal time, to be honest. It's kind of, on the Friday we get a little bit and on Saturday. But we did have a meeting with the big executives of the Golden Guitars and everything the other day. And I had a few ideas and Max had a few ideas. And if you know me, I always like to kind of have something up my sleeve and do something a little bit differently. So I just got an email yesterday that they've approved a couple of the ideas, some of the ones that I didn't think they were going to approve. So I'm excited for people to see what we've got in store. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a different experience for me. It's something different hosting the awards, but I think yeah, I think it's going to be great. And Max is just such an incredible personality and such an incredible talker. And I say that with the biggest compliment. I think she's a future travel host or something on TV, and I'm very glad that she's my offsider because I think when I lose my way, she'll hold it all together.
Do you also perform at the awards?
Yes, I do. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to announce that, but yes, I'm gonna be playing a song of the awards, and it's yeah, so I'm excited for everyone to see what I got in store for that too.
Well, if anyone's heard that in advance of the awards, pretend you didn't hear it. Now, the last time we spoke, you were due to play at the Cape Town Country Music Festival, and I was so interested in that because I had no idea there was a South African country music scene. What was it like?
The crazy experience of my life, and I say that without any ambiguity. I went there about 10 days before I put on that show, and the song that we released ended up becoming the number one country song in South Africa and broke Afrikaans records and it was insane. And I've never gone somewhere where within 10 days, South Africans are very loyal and they just followed us on this journey. And by the end of it, we had a stadium of people on their feet singing this song that we released the day before back to us. And I remember standing on that stage when there was just a crowd of people singing this song to us. And I'm like, this is insane. I'm in a stadium in South Africa with, it was 30 odd thousand people singing a song that I just released the day before back to me and Apple, who I did the collab with. And it was absolutely surreal. And we actually, within that week, I almost kind of, I think there's 250,000 people listening to me now in South Africa, and so I'm excited to go back there. It's become this whole nother market that, where people are listening to my music, and I think that's really exciting.
Well, I love the idea of James Johnston tentacles spreading all over the globe. I do have to wrap it up because you have other people to talk to, and you at the Tamworth Country Music Festival. You will be around in April and May at other festivals. James Johnston, as ever. What a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for the chat, Sophie. Appreciate it.